Hey guys, Greg Underdahl here for Angling Uploaded, and it's that time. You know the time. It's recap time. The Bass Pro Tour Major League Fishing Stage 4. We're on Lake Chickamauga in Tennessee, Dayton, Tennessee to be exact. And I'm just going to go through my day of filming, actually my week of filming. I'll kind of spend more time today, which was the championship day, going through that, but I'm just going to do a recap of what it was like to film during the week of Stage 4 of the Bass Pro Tour on Lake Chickamauga. So what do you say we get into it? Here we go. Oh, and then at the end of this, I'm going to do a giveaway. We're doing a giveaway. In here I have the name of our patrons, Angling Uploaded patrons. If you're a patron of Angling Uploaded and how you become a patron, you go to patreon.com /Angling Uploaded, or just search Angling Uploaded, become a patron, and then you can get involved in our giveaway. So the giveaway this time is I'm giving away a signed Kevin VanDam hat, which is perfect because Kevin won. And so I got this hat signed by him at the last tournament, Stage 3. I'll talk about that here shortly. So I'll be giving away that hat, and also a dollar bill signed by Bobby Lane, Big Bass Bobby Lane. I had won I basically won we were trying to determine, we had a little bet going, who was going to be closer to guessing the cut weight on one of the days of the last tournament, Stage 3. I guessed 30 pounds. I was the closest to being right on the cut weight of the knockout round. So I got $1. Bobby Lane signed it, and I'll be giving that away. So here we go. Let's get into it. Day 1, I was with Wesley Strader. Day 1 was Group A. Day 1 of Group A's elimination round. So Wesley is he's a lot of fun to work with. He's actually from Tennessee, and actually from this area, Spring City, Spring Hill, something Spring, like 20 minutes away from here. Pretty sure that's what he said. But Wesley's got like this sense of humor, this wacky sense of humor that I'd love to just fish with him, or just drink some beers with him sometime and just BS, because I think we have a very similar kind of demented sense of humor. So, and I say that as a very good thing. So it was interesting. There was a local angler on Wesley's first spot, and here on this body of water on the Chickamauga, it's Tennessee River. It's a popular area. And it's kind of a theme. A lot of these areas that these anglers are fishing are community holes, and a lot of locals know them. So it's just an added stress being a competitive angler, where unlike other sports, you can just completely, the playing field is for the competitors. And with competitive fishing, that's just not the case. You have to just manage dealing with everybody all over your playing field. So I see that firsthand when I'm filming these tournaments, how stressful it can be, and I completely identify with it. I've kind of, in some the tournaments that I've fished way back in the day, it was always a stressful thing to see another competitor or just another angler on your spot. So it's just got to be super stressful, especially when there's a lot of money on the line. But what was cool about this situation is that the local allowed Wesley to fish it, fish the spot. He got right off, and Wesley was able to fish this area. But it's always interesting to see those dynamics happen. He caught him really good in the first period, fishing kind of the saddle area. It was like an island, real close to kind of the main shoreline, and that created a funnel. When you have current moving through there, it really kind of acted as a funnel and a place for those fish to set up, is kind of how I understood it. He caught a few fish in this area, and it had been a really good place for him in the past. So, that's why he was fishing it. He was fishing a crankbait and then a drop shot once they got off that crankbait. So this reservoir just sums up how important current is. If you can find current really, really positions fish very, very well, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier to find fish if you have current moving through. And a lot of times on reservoirs, when they generate more current, it just activates them. They set up better. Anybody that's fished rivers knows how fish really can set up on predictable areas, in current. So, I'm trying to I'm trying to remember where he didn't stay there the whole time. He was fishing shallower than the majority of the field. A lot of people were fishing out deeper, but he was also catching them on a Nico rig on a nothing bank. And a Nico rig is essentially it can be a soft stick bait or just a straight tail worm, wacky rigged, and then a nail weight in the head of the bait. And he was doing that, and it was pretty interesting. I'm remembering better now, because day one, let me get a drink here. Day one seems like 150 years ago now. But this bank that he was fishing and catch him on a Nico rig, it was a bank that you would have never known that there was fish there. There was nothing about it that just stood out. And how he found these fish is just he was scanning with using his Lowrance live target. And I got to tell you, this thing is going to be... There's been so many things in the last, last 10, 15 years, just in the fishing industry, which is kind of revolutionary products. This live target and just this forward-facing sonar is really amazing, because if you looked at this bank, you'd never go, oh yeah, there's going to be a bunch of fish there. And he found it scanning with his Lowrance live target forward-facing sonar, and he found them there, and they were there. They were grouped up. Who knows why, and he caught them. So that's a real testament to the live target. All right, we're going to day two. Greg Vincent I was paired with, and so this would be Group B of the elimination round. They're day one. Day two for me. So he was fishing a river ledge with a drop shot and a big Texas rigged worm. This was really interesting. So I'm a big believer in scent. I love Berkley Power Bait, without a doubt my favorite. Berkley's my favorite fishing company, but Power Bait's my favorite soft plastics, because I've seen firsthand when I was 17, 18 years old, I saw firsthand how Power Bait will attract, fish actually to it, and then the scent, it just seals the deal. I've seen it firsthand. I've used regular plastics. In this particular situation, they weren't interested. Used Power Bait. It was a night and day difference. Ever since that time, I've been sold on it. So I'm a big believer in scent. Greg was using this JJ's Magic was the name of it. And what's interesting about it, it was in a jar about that big, and it was clear. And he dipped the tail of his baits in this JJ's Magic, and it was super potent. I could smell it in the back of the boat when he'd do this. And what happens is, with this particular product, the garlic actually infuses into the plastic. And Greg said that the smell just lasts for days and days. And I was pretty impressed by that. I thought that was I think when you put sprays on, they only last for maybe, I don't know. I feel like that stuff washes off really quickly. That's why I'm such a big believer in Berkley Power Bait, because the stuff is actually made within the plastic itself, the scent. But seeing this particular product, this JJ's Magic, However they're doing it, it's infusing into the plastic. So that was very, very interesting to me. So I got to check that company out. But I thought I'd pass that along to you. Greg caught 2 scoreable bass while I was with him. So things were slow for Greg. I was moved to Britt Myers. First time I've ever worked with Britt, and super nice guy. He had what I find is very interesting. Some of these anglers now are having 3 graphs up at their bow. So and they're like 12-inch graphs, you know. So big graphs at their bow. Some different anglers have different configurations if they're using 3 graphs. I'm pretty sure Jacob Wheeler does this as well. I know Shinichi Fukai has 3 graphs. So it's just, you can, if you want to look at the map, you have one big map. If you want to look at sonar, you have one big sonar. You want to look at your forward-facing sonar image, you have, that. Especially when you're looking up at a distance down, I think just having those big screens, it's easier. You can see things that might be really important that you wouldn't necessarily see if the screens were smaller. All that being said, it's very expensive, and is it necessary? I guess when you're competing at that level, any potential advantage is worth it, I guess, if you can afford it. So now he was fishing a river ledge with a crankbait and a Nico rig, and a lot of these crankbaits, these ledges are in 20 to 35 feet is kind of what I've seen these anglers fishing as far as these river ledges offshore. And so, they're using big, deep diving crankbaits to get down to the fish. And what's really interesting about that I saw that I don't think I've ever filmed is the long lining technique. You also call it strolling. These anglers have big crankbaits. I mean, god-awfully big crankbaits. Big bills on them so they can get down deep. And they're making as long a cast as they can. And then moving off, trolling, motoring. They hit the free spool. They disengage their spool, and then they just trolling motor away from the crankbait quite a ways, and then they start cranking, which allows that distance allows that crankbait to get down deep, and having those fish see an erratic presentation really can trigger them, as opposed to doing something slow down there. If you have this big crankbait banging around down there, it can really trigger fish. So that's what Britt was doing. It obviously, if you followed the tournament this week, that was a really, really productive technique for a lot of guys. So day 3, I was back with Wesley Strader. So day 3 would be Group A's Group A elimination round. So this is the day 2. And so they have to get into the top 20 so to move on to the knockout round. So 40 guys in this group, only the top 20 move to the knockout round. So this is the cut day here. So Wesley's got to get in that top 20 to move on. So I'm kind of got a wire here in this. I got a power cord in my in front of my notes here, but so I was with Wesley. I was moved off Wesley pretty quickly. He caught 1 fish in the first period on a walking bait. And Wesley was, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I got this right. Wesley was up there quite a ways. There, he wasn't really in any. He wasn't. There wasn't a threat of him not making it on. So they moved me off to Bobby Lane. So essentially, Wesley was going to make it into the cut. Make it above that 20. 20 place mark. So I was moved to Bobby Lane, and my computer's not behaving right now, but so Bobby Lane was fishing fishing shallow backwaters. What's really cool about this body of water is it's a river system. It's flooded, so you have all these kind of flooded backwaters, almost like oxbow situations. And Bobby was back in those backwaters doing something, completely different. Most people, I shouldn't say most people, it'd be interesting to know if it was kind of split down the middle of the field, like half the guys fishing shallow and half the guys fishing offshore, like deeper water, or, because there's quite a few people fishing shallow, but ultimately the guys out, in deeper water were doing the best. But Bobby's a shallow water guy from Florida. He feels comfortable in the shallow, so that's what he was doing. He was using a Berkley Chopo, which is Berkley's version of the Whopper Plopper, which I really want to test out. I'm actually pretty impressed with these Berkley hard baits that have come out. And guys are using that Chopo, man. They really, really are. I mean, there's a lot of guys using that Berkley Chopo and not using the Whopper Plopper. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, plenty of people using the Whopper Plopper, but there are quite a few people using that Berkley Chopo. Unfortunately, Bobby did not make the cut, but it's always a good time fishing with Bobby. I had a great tournament, filming with him on stage 3. And if you watch that last video, he carries pickles, Mount Olive dill pickles in his boat, jar of pickles. And last time he gave me some pickles, and this time he gave me some pickles. So I was very appreciative of that. Okay, so day 4, we are moving on to Jared Lintner. I believe Jared is from Arizona. I know for sure he's from the West Coast. Hell of an angler. Actually, I've worked with Jared a few other times, but not a lot. But wait, I gotta get this right here. Here's the cool thing. So I've heard a lot of great stuff about the Vexus, the Vexus boat, bass boat, but this is the first time. So Jared's running a Vexus. I'd never been in a Vexus before, so it was cool to get in a Vexus and experience it. Now, I've heard this boat is very, very expensive. I've heard like $100,000. I don't know if that's the case. If that is the case, please let me know in the comments. But this is a very high-end bass boat, so it was neat to get in and just check everything out. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember. The biggest thing I remember about the Vexus was just how big the compartments are. Really, really big compartments. So in the back deck where I stand most of the time, I'm looking around, and it's just got giant compartments. Even the live well's really, really big, and that was impressive to me. Also, the seats where you sit down when you're traveling, when you're driving, they have air suspension in them. So I didn't get to experience that. I was in the middle seat, which is I have a here. Let me get this. Actually, I've talked about it before. It's not important, but I have my own seat I bring to put in the middle because the middle isn't padded typically. So I wasn't able to experience those air ride seats at all. My wonderful phone has stopped charging, so hopefully we can get through this video. But I have an old phone, iPhone. It's a 6S, for goodness gracious. But it's I like to basically use things until they just fall apart and it just turn into dust, and then I'll get something new. That's kind of how I operate. That's why I drive a '95 Chevy Silverado pickup truck. All right, where was I? So yeah, the Vexus. I'm trying to think of some other things about it. It's a cool boat. Is it $100,000 cool? I don't have $100,000 to. I mean, I don't know. I need to experience more Vexus to really kind of have an opinion on it. But right now, cool boat, $100,000 cool. Okay, so Jared, he didn't catch a scoreable bass in the first period, so I was moved off Jared and went over to Shinichi Fukai. I'm just going to call him Shin for short because I don't want to butcher his name. He also had 3 graphs at the bow. 2 wore, so he had 1 graph. I want to make, I think 1 graph, so it was like in a triangle shape. So the first graph on top was, I think, just for mapping. But his 2 below that one were active target, Lowrance active target, forward-facing sonar. So one graph had like a narrow beam, and the other graph had a wider beam. So he could kind of get my understanding was, so that wider beam, he could get a general idea what was going on in an area. But with that narrow beam, he could just kind of tune in and really get specific and kind of understand more locally in a localized area what was going on. Even I think individual fish, he would get a better idea. So that was really unique. I hadn't seen any other people doing that, and Shin might be the only guy. Let's see here. Okay, so Shin was using, one of my favorite things about actually, so I've worked with Takahiro before. I'm a huge fan of Japanese lures, Japanese techniques. The Japanese are really, really good at perfecting techniques, perfecting lures. Their attention to detail is second to none. And so it's really cool to be in a boat with an angler like Shin, because he's got all kinds of lures that I've never seen before. And he's doing techniques that I've never seen before. And so the first thing I notice is he's got this lure tied up that honestly, it looks like a Texas rig. It's Texas rigged, and I don't want to be too specific about this because it's essentially a secret. I mean, he talked about it a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to show it or anything, but he talked about it a little bit in the live stream today. But it looks like a piece of poop, and honestly, it looks kind of phallic too. So if you don't know what phallic means, type in PHALLIC into Google. Well, no, maybe you shouldn't do that. Never mind. Just trust me. It's kind of obscene looking. And so anyway, he's using this lure. He's got it Texas rigged, but without a weight on it. And it's like probably it's like rigged with like a 3 or 4/0 offset worm hook. He's casting it out, and he's like, I think he's like working it kind of like I think he's working it like walking the dog, but like for suspended fish. So imagine middle of the water column, and you're working this bait like this through the water column. And he caught some fish doing that. I was blown away by it, but I was probably more blown away by this other technique, and he went into more detail on this. So imagine a 5 or 6 inch like soft jerk bait, and with a just rigged, just threading a 16th ounce jig head on it, right? And so he was talking about how these fish would, instead of being on the bottom, they'd start to suspend, right? So and I'm a huge fan of soft jerk baits. They can trigger fish better than any bait, as far as I'm concerned, because they have an erratic action that it's not predictable. It can go any direction. Any lure, with the exception of jerk baits and soft jerk baits, but even jerk baits kind of have a predictable action, sort of. Soft jerk baits are completely unpredictable. They can go all over the place. So this technique is essentially using the benefits of that erratic action of a soft jerk bait and presenting it in the middle of the water column. I'm talking like 20 feet down, 15, 20 feet down, and just erratic. And that's what it's doing. And he he would sometimes just retrieve it a little bit, but for the most part, he was just kind of jerking his rod tip like that. And so that was really, really eye-opening. Really, really eye-opening. And he caught the heck out of him doing that. So, so he made it. I was with him the day that he auto-qualified to go right into the championship. That was the elimination round for, let's see, that was for Group A. So he placed first, and so he goes right to the championship round. And he had his wife had lost during the tournament, had lost her father. So Shin's father-in-law had died during the tournament, unfortunately, and Shin got emotional talking about it, and I did kind of a slow push in. That was really, really dramatic and powerful, and I love being a part of those moments, where you really there was just a lot of emotion there, genuine emotion, and everybody can identify with that, and it was cool to go on like Facebook and see how people reacted to that moment, and for me to be a part of that and to have filmed that is really, really something I don't take for granted. So let's see. So day 5, here we go. Day 5, this would be Group A's elimination. Wesley Strader qualified. He made it in the top 20, and I was paired with him again. Very happy about that. And Wesley went to the same spot with a funnel, island and shoreline, funnel area, but there wasn't much happening there. He caught 3 scoreable bass, but the rest of the field was really pulling away, the guys that were fishing like the offshore stuff. So I was moved to Mark Davis, and Mark was fishing offshore with a Texas rig soft stick bait. He was using actually a Strike King Ocho, which is it's like a Senko, but it has like kind of sharp. How would I describe this? It's kind of octagonal. It's got kind of sharp edges to it, but it's still a soft stick bait. So he was just Texas rigging that and fishing that offshore. And I'm trying to remember exactly if he was fishing kind of a break. He wasn't way off in the middle, fishing ledges, but he was fishing offshore. But it was more of just kind of I don't know if it was a hump. Obviously I should have taken better notes. I have failed you, and I apologize. But he was fishing offshore, but he unfortunately he was doing well. He was like firmly in this round you have to make it into the top 8, right? So he was doing well. He was like in 5th for a while, and then he just slowly started dropping out from the cut and didn't make it, unfortunately. So but always nice work with Mark. He's a super nice guy, super nice guy, and he's a veteran. And I'll never forget working with Kevin VanDam years and years ago. I worked with Kevin. I gotta make sure this thing is actually charging. Come on. Hopefully, I probably need to wrap this up relatively soon because my phone might die. But I remember years and years ago when I first started working with Kevin VanDam. I started working with Kevin VanDam right out of college. And Kevin told me, I'd asked him, like, who do you think's like the best angler out there, other than him? And he said Mark Davis. And what's interesting about that is like Mark Davis and Kevin have completely different styles. And, Mark Davis is still, to this day, a stick. Okay, day 6, this is the championship round. This was today with Shinichi Fukai. And, oh my goodness, racing to the first spot, going faster than I've ever been in a bass boat filming. I have been in a bass boat faster on the Potomac River years and years ago, 80 miles an hour. But today I was going 79. That's still super fast. We were flying. Shin actually made his boat lighter because he knew he had to get to his spot before everybody else. And that bass cat was ripping. It blew everybody away. So we got to the first spot, and here's the stress of this job, right? Local angler, local guide was on his spot. He was right on the juice, as they say. Shin asked him if he could fish it, and the local guide was happy to allow him to fish, and then eventually just gave Shin the spot to fish. So that was nice. But talk about stressful. Okay, so again, Shinichi, he's using the same techniques that I described earlier. The turd bait and the soft jerk bait. So he was probably fishing that, I don't know what else to call it but a turd bait. Poop bait. It's a new genre. So he's using that quite a bit actually, and caught a lot of fish on that today. Also alternating between the jig, the soft jerk bait with a jig head, so he's catching them that way too. And it's always cool. It's so cool to see these Japanese techniques come here and then do as well as, like today, especially do as well as it's just, how far is Japan away from here? I know that it's like from Minneapolis. I went there one time. It's like a 12-hour flight, but for that, those techniques travel all the way here and then kick ass. I love seeing it. So who knows? Maybe that poop technique will be the new thing. I don't know. I still can't show you a picture of it. So, okay. So Shinichi was doing really well, and he was up top for a while. He was in first for a while, but here comes VanDam. And I got to tell you, man, so I think VanDam's back. I was with VanDam, stage 3, filming him, trying to make it into the cut. He was so close, and he didn't make it. And he was frustrated, understandably. And we just kind of were talking about things. He talked about it a little bit today. His parents haven't been in the best health, and so I think that's really been weighing on him. But I think it's also been weighing on him that he's frustrated being so close, and he hasn't won in a while. And I told him, I said, it wasn't exactly these words, but it was to the effect of, "You'll get it back." It was, you'll get it back, man. Your time's coming. And so it was really, really cool to see VanDam this tournament's just set up perfect for him. It's just a power fishing tournament. And for him, there's no one better, man, at power fishing or knowing how to trigger fish. And I was like, he's going to win this thing. And he did. He found what solidified the deal was that he found a group and just tore them up. And if he can find a group of fish and crank them and he's very versatile, but man, no one touches him with being able to trigger fish, getting fish to eat. And that's what he did. And he won the tournament. So I've been in a commercial with VanDam way back in the day. I've worked with VanDam a ton. It's good to see it. It's good to see him back on top again. And hopefully this is going to be a more regular occurrence. So let's see here. So that is my recap. But before we wrap this thing up, we're going to do a giveaway. Here it goes. So this is for the Kevin VanDam signed hat. It's actually his competition hat. My hat, I lost my hat. I actually lost another hat this week, and a boat official gave me this hat. But I lost my hat as stage 3. VanDam gave me his competition hat, signed it. I'm going to give that hat away. Also, the dollar bill that I won from Bobby Lane, he signed it as well. I'm giving those away right now. So here we go. Who is it? Become a patron, patreon.com/anglinguploaded, and you too can win. You can be entered in our giveaways. Here it is. This is going to be the winner, Lance Burglar. I think Lance won the last one. So Lance, I'm not sure about that, but Lance, if you did, you have got a rabbit's foot up your butt potentially. So congratulations, Lance. You are the winner of the giveaway. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I will see you stage 5 or potentially even sooner.